Hey, it's so good to meet you too, and I'm glad that you are here.
I received like countless rejections, probably, you know, more than 80, upwards of 80 rejections from prize in Hong Kong, a literary
Mm,
prize. I'm writing for a 12-year-old. When you get rejections or when you don't get replies, I think you would probably take it personally. I don't use any big words and I don't use any sentences longer than 17 words. I feel that writers should build the resilience, they build on your skincare routine so that you have a thick skin.
I'm Nadine Matheson, host of The Conversation, and I know you're keen to get on with the show and watch my conversation with my guest. But before we do, I have one small request. Can you please hit the subscribe button? You might already have done so, but if you haven't, hit the subscribe button now. Takes a second. Less than a second. Right, thank you very much, and let's get on with the show. Ivy Ngeow, welcome to The Conversation.
Thank you very much, Nadine. Lovely to meet you.
Hey, it's so good to meet you too, and I'm glad that you are here. So, right, Ivy, my first question for you is right because I was looking into your background, and you're not just a writer; you also in architecture and an interior designer as well as
Yeah.
a writer. So, what I was thinking was, how does your other career in design, how has that influenced your writing in any way?
I would say that it's made me an all-round creative person and made me
Mm,
because I am already a visual person. So I
yeah,
tend to construct writing like I would a building, like in scenes, in rooms, and how we tell a story. So I think it forms the narrative.
yeah. Has that always so what was your first love though? Was it architecture or was it like the written word first?
Um, I think from my earliest memory, I've always wanted to be, in music or dance. I was
Mm,
very musical, very artistic. But then I was also very good at maths. So I ended up in a career which was architecture because it's all of these. It's being
yeah.
creative, it's been 3D, visual, and it's also mathematical. So I found that I gradually went in that direction because of, I guess, my own nature, my character.
Mm. And then how did you get to the written word? When did words come into play?
I started writing very early because actually it's an extension of reading for me. Because when
Mm,
I started reading, the library became my uh, favorite place when I was around 8. I suddenly discovered there was actually a world outside your home and your
yeah.
school, and many worlds. There were many countries. There were many eras, like the historical periods. So I started to find out so much more of myself in books than in reality, and so writing became an extension of that because I started being very curious about how stories are written and how narratives are formed. So I started writing early. At first, it was to entertain my toddler brothers. I made up stories. I didn't realize it's called writing. I just thought that writing
Yeah.
was storytelling. So I entertained them and also rewrote like the endings of stories which I didn't like or which had
Did
poor
you?
poor representation of women and race and all. I thought that that's rubbish. I think I need to rewrite that endings. So and gradually characters were forming and I didn't realize that making things up was actually writing.
Mm. It's funny because I always used to say to myself, I used to read books and think I could do better than this. Like I could
Yeah,
write
yeah,
better
me
than that. So
too.
there's always something in there that just like it
Yeah, I'm
irritates
thinking,
you. Like
what? No, yeah, that's bad. Like, why did the character do that? So so writing came naturally, like at an early age. But I've always done it for fun. I never thought that I was
mm,
going to be doing it as a sideline, or I mean, I guess when you're a child, there's no such thing as sideline. You never think that this is a
no,
job. Like, why is writing a job? You think that books are written by other people. They end up on shelves, and then you use them. But you don't think that you are the person who's going to write a book that ends up on a shelf. So they kind of exist in parallel. I think the writing and reading world,
Yeah.
or that kind of concept just existed in like journeys in parallel motion.
Mm. It's always we always say it a lot on this podcast for a lot of us is that when you're growing up, even though you have a love for books, and you live inside books, you don't know growing up that this writing thing, it
Mhm.
can be a job, and this is something that you can do in the future. As you said,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
other people who do that.
Other
Other people
people,
write
yeah,
books. Yeah. You think, books are something that other people do. And then
yeah,
you just have, if you're lucky, you're able to go into a library and pick up a book and read, or someone will buy you a
yeah.
book. But when did you there's a question I like to ask now is though, but when did you instinctively know that you were a storyteller? Because I always think, if you're doing interior design and
Uh-huh.
architecture, you're telling stories through
You are telling
your
stories. You
design.
have to build a dream. I think that that's one
Yeah.
most important thing. It's not for yourself. I feel that I'm building a world, a dream, something that fills people with hope, and you know that that can carry them for a long time. So there's some kind of
Mm,
longevity as well in storytelling. It's not something that is disposable, where it's like you just used it once and that's the end. I think you have to
yeah.
create something that is lasting, and I feel that is I think that's a skill, to use that aspect of, and it's a bit like filmmaking too.
Mm.
Scene after scene, room after room, you build upon it, that world.
When you're designing for someone, so when you're designing a building, you have
Uh-huh.
like a specific brief, I
Yeah.
suppose, and then you're giving them what you want. So you always have the client in mind. But does the same work for you when you're writing your book? Do you have the reader in mind, or is it
Yeah,
just this is just
absolutely. I think that you
really?
start off not knowing, because obviously in writing there's no boss. Like, it's not like you're in a writing firm and then every day there's a brief that you have
Yeah.
to work to. So because you're your own director, I think as a writer it's really hard to, I think what they call it in the industry is finding your voice. You
Mm,
have to find a voice that you can channel to your audience, and it comes, I think it comes with time, because then your audience uh gives you an idea of what they're into. And I've discovered things about my own writing and about my audience too, just by finding my own voice.
yeah. What did you discover
Yeah,
about yourself though? Because I always think during this process as a writer, you think you're going to be one way. It's
yeah,
just actually the same applies to when I first started practicing law. I thought I was gonna be
yeah.
a certain way in court. I thought I'll just be how I
Oh,
am,
that's so
like in
true.
my
Yeah.
personal life. Yeah, but it's not. It's a completely different personality. So what did you learn about yourself?
So firstly, I thought that I'm going to be writing like, Jane Austen, Charles Dickens, because we're in England, right? It's
Yeah.
Englit. I thought that that's what people want. Like, when you look around you, uh, books are written by white people for white people. So
Mm,
gradually, like, I think also because I did a master's at Middlesex Uni, gradually I discovered there's actually many other voices. And at the time that I was doing my master's, my MA, there was no such word as diverse or diversity. There was no such word. It was like either Englit or world literature.
yeah.
So I felt
Oh
that
god, that's so true.
yeah, so true. And to be discovered as a writer of a non-white writer in the UK, it was very difficult. It was like finding a door that couldn't open. Like,
Mm,
you're in a big building. There's so many doors. Technically, you could open any of them, but none of them opened. And that was the feeling I had, which was being trapped in a lot of corridors. Trying to find somebody who would open the door and look at my work. Um, but it comes with time, because I said that my MA was already 20 years ago, and I think it does take decades. All change is slow. I mean, as a lawyer, you would know that all change is
yeah.
slow.
It's
So
it's
I
so
discovered
funny.
that
Mm,
about writing.
yeah. It's funny, you and I both went to the same university. I did my
I actually, that's how I got hold of you too. When I wrote into you, I remember now, about
seriously?
6 months ago. Yeah, I don't know where it was, on LinkedIn or somewhere.
Maybe LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is usually the culprit for bringing alumni
Yeah.
alumni together.
Oh my God. It's so when I think about, because it's, it's interesting when you think about that time and you said like diversity and
Mm,
inclusivity, like that
yeah.
wasn't in it
There's
wasn't
no
in the
such word.
vocabulary. No,
Mm,
it wasn't, not back then. It's only now. And people
mm.
feel like, because it's so widely used now, I think people feel like it's been around forever. But back then it wasn't. As you said, it was either you said English literature or it was world
Yeah,
it was world
yeah.
literature. It reminds me of the supermarket. It's such a strange thing to say, but
Oh yes, yes. The
I
world aisle, the world food. Yeah,
exactly the world aisle, and everyone's
yeah.
clumped together in the world aisle.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's still true. But now I found that like the big supermarkets have more categories.
Yeah, they do. They've split us up
Caribbean,
now.
Polish. I mean, there's more now.
So when you was doing your when you was doing your MA back at Middlesex time ago, all that time ago, did you feel that you had to write in a specific voice? You said it was just Jane Austen and
Yeah.
or Dickens. So did you feel like you had no choice but to write in that sort of voice, or did you were
No, I think
you?
on the contrary, they brought it out of me. They said that,
Oh, that's good.
cut the crap. Like, why are you doing this? Because I thought that's what you're supposed to do. I'm in England, right? So I thought that's
Yeah.
what you're supposed to do. And then I think that the reading material changed. I started to read a lot about the diaspora. So there were new
Mm,
words now, new words in my vocabulary, and they brought out the voice.
yeah.
They helped me find my original voice. And I think it's hard because how do you know? How do we know what's original? Like when we look around us, we feel that there's very little originality. Everybody gets their ideas from somebody else
Mhm.
or somewhere else. So I think to bring that out is and also to actually cultivate original thoughts is something that the
Yeah.
university helps with. I mean,
Yeah.
that's their
Oh,
job, isn't it? Yeah, I think that the way the university works is that they are supposed to do that. I mean, that's the whole
yeah,
point of
exactly.
education. Education is about. I'm not going to a copywriting school or ad school where you write the same copy over and over in more and
Yeah.
more, emotive terms. A university is supposed to encourage the expressions, the well, expressive thought.
Mm.
Mm.
It's like, you were saying earlier before I disappeared very
Mm.
briefly.
Yeah,
Is like you think about how can I find my voice? Like how can I be original? Because they say there's only 7 original plots.
yeah,
There's only 7 plots in storytelling. So we're
yeah.
all just telling some but different version of the same plot, trying to put our different spin on it. And we're
Mm,
influenced by
mm,
so much around us. You look at the modern world today, you're
mm.
influenced by the things you see on TV, by
Yeah.
other podcasts and radio shows and everyone's YouTube channel.
Uh-huh.
So how did you do you think you got through that and was able to find Ivy, the writer?
I think by carrying on writing, by
Mm,
experimenting as well, and
yeah.
also I still do write as a white person sometimes, and I do, I submit to competitions blind. That's how I get through it because I don't want them to know my name. I
Oh,
can,
really? So
yeah,
you
I
do?
I write in under a new name or but in competitions which accept submissions blind because I want them to be able to just read my work and enjoy it,
It's
on its own merit.
yeah. But it's sad though that anyone would have to do that. It's like mask yourself in order to feel like you're being given a fair chance and that someone's I don't know if authentically is the right word, but they're honestly reading the work
Yeah.
without any preconceptions.
Yeah, well, I think that it comes out. Like I think that if the writing is good, it will
Mm,
come out.
yeah,
I don't
I
think it
believe so.
matters what's my name. I mean, I don't think it matters, and I still really believe that the quality of writing still has to be the best that it can
Yeah,
be by anyone. So that's something that again, that's the job of the university to bring out the best in someone.
yeah. I'm glad they did that. It sounds I'm glad that they didn't was saying, this is like the prescribed way of writing a book has to be, and that they 'cause that's what you said, you're right, that's what they should do. They should be encouraging you to
Yeah.
find your voice and be different, regardless of whatever genre you wanna write in, but
Yeah, and
being
I
you.
I think that you and I went to a good university. I know I'm
Yeah,
not
I
trying to
did. I
sell them or
enjoyed it.
anything. Yeah, I'm not getting
Mm.
a cut for saying it or anything. But
They
I
should
think
do.
Middlesex is very London. It's very good,
Yeah.
and I find that it is very diverse.
Mm.
It will help whoever, like any student. And I think that that's the brilliant thing about doing something like writing. It's not maths. I mean, maths was something I was good at, but there is a right and wrong. But in writing, there is no right and wrong.
Did you find it easy to
You
switch your
know,
brain from,
um,
from the mathematical side and the architectural side? I'm not saying it's rigid, but I suppose
yeah.
that there are rules. But were you able to switch your brain from one mode medium to the other?
I think that once you know both, you can. It's like saying, hey, you play sax, but you also play piano. So, but
Yeah,
when you're doing sax, you're just playing sax. You wouldn't, yeah, it wouldn't come in. Like, I think
yeah.
that when you're playing piano, you're playing piano. So once you do both instruments, they can just run in parallel or
Mm,
do separate things.
mm. And once you got through university, you got through MA, you did your MA, so you've got your MA in your hand. Obviously, you're still doing you've obviously got your other career. What was the publishing journey like for you? Because that's a different thing altogether. Being able to write, feeling comfortable writing, and then getting to a place where
Yeah.
you're submitting your work to agents or to publishers. That's a journey I don't think anyone can prepare you for.
Yeah, I think that's a really tough one, Nadine. I mean, it's a really
Mm,
valid question that you've asked because now in my life, I believe that publishing is probably 120% luck. It's luck because
yeah.
you might have written the best book, but it's either unpublishable due to commercial reasons or it never found the right audience, but it
Mm,
might be the best book that you've written. And I felt that about my book because I received like countless rejections, probably, you know, more than 80, upwards of 80 rejections from my first book, which I actually wrote at Middlesex. So I was feeling very I think put off. It will really
yeah.
put you off because when you get rejections or when you don't get replies, I think you would probably take it personally. And I mean, I think that was one of the questions you raised. It's something that you should not take personally because this is part of the whole writing thing. If you're lucky, then it gets picked up. If you're not, like I was, then you have to not take it so badly and actually just see it as part of your resilience or resilience building or your
Yeah.
maturity. I think you need to mature as a writer to be able to write. I know it's circulatory, but I feel that now, especially now that I've been published and I've had 6 books out, I feel that each one is its own independent I feel that they're products, like just things that I've made. Like that's my banana cake, that's my cherry cake. I just feel that if you don't like it, that's okay. You don't have to like
Yeah.
my cherry cake or whatever. So now I'm seeing it that way, rather than a part of me, like I cut my hand off. I don't see it as like that anymore. I
Yeah.
made it, but it's out there.
But also, I've only realised this now just by talking to you, is that each book you write, it's like a milestone of where you are as a
Yeah, yeah,
writer.
yeah. Oh, I
So when you
love
think
that
of Yeah.
analogy.
So
I
when you
love
think about
that.
that very first book you wrote,
Yeah,
way back when you was in Middlesex, and who you were as a person, what you was going through, the things that were probably going through your life personally and professionally,
yeah.
and then you look at the sixth book that you have now, there's a map you've grown in probably well, you personally and professionally, you've grown in so many different ways.
I totally agree. And also, I'm much better now.
Mm,
People say that, don't they? Like, you
yeah,
can't compare the first cake you bake to the 100th cake. Of course, you're much, much better. And all the cakes in between made you what you are
yeah.
right now. So I really love your analogy of the milestone, but I like to use cake, but your milestone is absolutely true. It's just a bigger word. And and I remember having all those rejections before my first book was won a prize in Hong Kong, a literary prize,
Mm.
and my whole family went out there to celebrate from when I
Oh,
went to
that's
receive my
amazing.
cash prize. Yeah, I was very excited because it had more than 80 rejections in the UK, and then I realized that hang on a minute, it's not accepted in the UK by all these publishers, but it won a prize abroad. So that's when I started thinking, I'm wondering whether my audience is abroad, wherever that might be. I don't that abroad is a very big word. It's like saying world literature. It's a big word. So
Yeah.
from then on, I was working on my intentions of making my writing more accessible, especially to the UK audience.
It's so interesting. When you were saying before, re- you've had 80 rejections and you try hard not to take it personally, but you can't help but take it personally because it's you. Because I
Yeah.
always say you put your blood, sweat, and tears into it.
And it
You work
hurts, right?
hard
It actually
and
physically
yeah, it
hurts.
hurts.
Yeah.
It
It's
hurts when
like,
someone
yeah,
tells you no and
yeah.
you're like, well,
It's
why
like
are
a
you telling me
breakup. Each
no?
time it's like a breakup.
It's like a breakup. It's like you've been I don't know, you fancied someone for ages and ages and ages and ages and
And then you
ages,
were
and you've built
blocked. Yeah, you were
yeah,
ghosted or blocked. That's
you're going
exactly how, yeah.
after you've built up the courage to ask them out, you're like,
Yeah.
no, I'm going
That's
to ask
right.
them out, and they tell
Yeah,
you
yeah,
no.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, so it's like how you said, and then you're ghosted.
Wow.
It's like how can you not take it personally? But then always feel like through that, it's always a testament of your character if you keep on going,
It
which is what you
requires so
did.
much. I think one of the questions you raised in your suggested questions was
Mm,
was that. And I feel that it is very tough. I think mentally and physically it's tough. So
yeah.
I feel that writers should build the resilience. They build on your skincare routine so that you have a thick skin.
But it's hard though. It's hard though, Ivy, because I always say on this podcast that
Yeah,
no matter what your other job is, you can be so proficient in that job, so experienced, so
yeah,
sure of yourself, so
yeah, yeah.
confident. Like,
So skilled. Yeah,
yeah, you're so skilled. Like I could walk into a courtroom or I stand in a classroom and I'm teaching the baby lawyers, and I'm sure of myself and who I am and what I'm doing. But then you do something
mm.
different, which is very, very personal to you, and it brings up all these crazy insecurities, which you wouldn't normally have in your other life.
Yeah, yeah. It's true. You fall to pieces. Like
Yeah,
you start to question your very being, like who are you, why are you doing this. I think that that's hard mentally because it's almost as if you're delusional, like you're the one having the delusion, that's why you're blocked. And that's why you're ghosted. And you have to reset yourself each time, and I
yeah,
think that no one can teach you that. That's why I think that being a writer is a character type, like the character
yeah.
of having this uh this bullish nature, being able to crash through such devastating emotional situations.
Mm.
You have
But
to recover yourself.
yeah, but I also think I think it's kind of healthy to have the delusion. So I feel like if you didn't have that, you need a healthy level of delusion to keep
The
pushing
madness,
through.
yeah, to
Yeah,
to
you need
have
you need,
yeah, see,
you
the
need the
madness,
madness
yeah, yeah.
because I think if you didn't have it, then you probably wouldn't have got on the plane and gone to Hong Kong to accept your prize, and you wouldn't have kept on going
I wouldn't have
past
kept
those
on
80
going. Yeah,
rejections.
I
Yeah,
felt that there was some sense of hope when I was Hong Kong. I actually thought there's hope for me yet.
mm.
That's actually what I thought. you
But
know
you need the validation. No matter regardless of how big it is or how small it is, once you get that piece of validation and it's
Mm,
someone saying, even if I remember the very first book I wrote, I always say I had no business sending it out, but I remember I sent it out to a publisher and it was they were a black
mm.
publisher and
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't know
yeah,
what
yeah,
happened to them though. They were called Black Amber. I don't know what happened to them, but I sent them the
yeah.
book and she wrote me and I kept this letter for ages and for life me I have no idea what I've done with it now, but she sent me this letter, the publisher, and she said like she enjoyed it and she thought I wrote well, like she could see there was good stuff in it, but it wasn't
At
ready.
least you
And
wrote
she was right.
back.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
wrote back. But even though she said no, I got so much validation the fact that she did write back and she could see that I could tell a story. And I always
Mm.
kept that in my mind every time I did send out this book that had no business going out. I still, when
Mm.
I sent it out again and when I carried on
I
writing. So no
keep
matter how
those as
small it
well.
is, you
You
need
did the
it.
right
Yeah.
thing to keep it. That's called a raving rejection, by the way. Raving.
Is
They're
it?
raving about you, but it's still a no. But
Yeah, you're
I
still
kept
a
those as well. Like somebody who in America, in Chicago, that I wrote to, and a publisher said, I would love this to be read by somebody who will totally champion your rights
Mm,
and go to hell and back for you. I would love a publisher who would love this book. He says he liked it very much, but he didn't love it enough.
yeah.
So okay, fine. Okay,
But
I kept that. Yeah, I'll
no, it's
take
good. I
that.
said you need it.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a little bit. It's like someone recharging your
yeah.
battery. It's not. You're not giving you. It's not recharged 100%. Maybe it's like
Mm,
another 20%, but it's enough just to keep you going. You need that.
mm, yeah,
Yeah. I was gonna ask you. It went out of my head now, and it will come to me. So you said when you was trying to make your writing more accessible.
yeah.
Were you always like 100% comfortable with that? Or were you just or were you looking at it like like a brief? This is my architectural brief. This is what I need to do in order to get the complete building or the finished room.
Oh, yeah. This is great. I mean, I can see you coming from a law background because
Yeah, the
I
lawyer
think
kicks in.
you can structurally change anything, as you know.
Yeah.
You can change something if you wanted to, and I felt that I wanted to challenge myself. I'm going to make my writing more accessible because I came from a MA background, which means that it's probably a bit literary, a bit highbrow,
Mm,
which probably just goes to show, okay, you're very smart, but most people are not. Like most people are
yeah.
lay people, okay? And they watch TV. You're competing with TV, podcasts. You're competing with so much mass media that is for the layperson. So now I'm writing as though I'm writing for a 12-year-old. I don't use any big words and I don't use any sentences longer than 17 words. That's how I have made myself more accessible. And you know what? It's very hard to do that because if you've come from an MA background, if you've had 3 degrees, it's very hard to do that because you're dumbing down each time. But then you can make it you to dumb down something and make it resonate with your audience. I think it actually requires a lot of skill because you're actually giving them back like emotional, intelligence and other kinds of
Mm.
intelligence. You're not using big words.
What was I gonna say? I wouldn't even say it's not even dumb. It's not dumbing
It's
down. I
not
think
even down down. It's
right.
not even
Yeah,
down
it's the
down.
right. It's the right word you use is the one you've always been using. You're making it accessible, as you said, because you're asking a reader to take time away from whatever TV program they're
Yeah.
watching, whatever podcast
Yeah,
they're
your
watching, whatever.
competition. Yeah, competition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever they decided to binge on Netflix that day. You're asking them to trust you that
Mm-hmm.
you're going to take them on a journey with their story, and they're going to be, I say, comfortable with it, but they're not going to feel intimidated
Yeah.
by it. And you
Okay.
said that is not, and even though it sounds, I think in some person's ears, it can sound like, well, this is an easy thing to do, isn't it? You're kind of, I'm saying simplifying in quotes,
Yeah.
but you're simplifying it to make it accessible. But there's great skill in that. It's like when you read articles and they always kind of derogatory about commercial fiction, whether it's crime
Oh
or
yeah. 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 Yeah.
romance.
Yeah. Genre
But
fiction.
this,
Yeah.
yeah, it's commercial. It's like a subordinate level of fiction. But you're like, do you know how much skill it takes to create a twist? Do you know how
Yeah.
much skill it
Yeah.
takes to convince the reader that character A is in love with character character B, and that they are going to get character B at the end of the story? That takes a lot of skill.
Yeah. I found that it to retrain myself to do that. And
Hmm.
I sort of that's what I meant by it's a long game because around
Yeah.
2020 during the pandemic, I actually signed up for copywriting. So I started writing copy, and that's when I realized, you know what, to appeal to a layperson, how can we look at ads and they stop us? We only have 3 to like 5 seconds to
Mm.
convince a reader. So in the 3 to 5 seconds, what can I fit in? So here comes
Yeah.
so the emotional words, showing, not telling, seeing through the eyes of a character, seeing through the eyes of a normal person. So these characters, they are ordinary people like you and I. And that's what gets, I think, the audience interested. They are not highbrow literary like university lecturers, you know. So if that's a different genre, that's okay, but it's a different genre. So
Yeah.
yeah, I feel that.
It's what I said about there being great skill in writing these books. And there's great skill in capturing someone's attention in those first 3 to 4 sentences.
Yeah, 3 to 4
Because
sentences.
not many people can, because I was editing a podcast earlier and we were
Oh
talking
yes.
about yeah, because I do a lot of editing, but we were talking about in the podcast about again grabbing people's attention. It's like keeping their attention, what it takes to make them continuously turn the page, and that's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah. That is I found that it's like a magic trick. How did they do it? They made it
Yeah.
look so easy. And that's why it takes 12 years to do that magic trick to make it look like it's easy. Nothing. You know, to wow somebody.
Yeah, it's never easy
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
wow somebody. And when you're writing the next book,
Yeah.
even though you might have done it with the previous book, which is why I get offended when people say they don't like prologues. Like everyone's got their own way of
Okay.
bringing
Yeah.
a reader into the book. I
Yeah.
like I've always used a prologue. I don't think I use it for the first book. The last book I
Everybody is
did.
different though. Yeah.
Everyone's
I
different.
no,
I think the last
I
book I did
totally
a
agree.
flashback. Yeah, the
Yeah.
last book was a flashback, but I've done prologues. But whatever way works for you in order to
Mm.
drag the reader along with you to this
Yeah.
story, then you use it. And as you said, it
Yeah.
takes time.
Yeah, and the nice thing about that is you also drag yourself into the story because if you're not gripped by that, then no reader is going to be gripped. If you're gripped by the 3 to 5 seconds, then oh wow, okay, you also want to be engaged and
Yeah.
do more. So I think that people forget that it takes two. It's both your audience and you. You know, the
You know,
magician is not doing it to no one. He has to have an
yeah.
audience.
Going back to, because I'm just fascinated by you being an architecture. I would never have been an architect. I can draw, but no, I can't. My imagination doesn't work that way. But when you're writing your books and you say you see the rooms.
Yes, I
So I
see.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, so you see the rooms. So with In Safe, we will talk about In Safe Hands, which is like your new book. But in Safe Hands, so with Genevieve, did you see her in a room when you first saw her?
Yeah, I saw her in the cab. So
You saw her
my
in the cab.
yeah, so she's going somewhere. She's homeless. She's totally penniless. So she's
Yeah.
using all her last, I think, 280 pounds or something, and she's going to have to make that stretch. So she's in
Mm.
the cab with, and she's a single mom. She's with her son. So I saw that, and I also illustrate them. Like I will do a quick sketch or something. Like I will sketch the scenes out. So I
Yeah.
tend to do that and structure my writing like my buildings. Like first, we have to have we have to have some kind of foundation or structure to the story, like for me to fill with characters and like forget the interior design. That's the bit that at the end, which everybody sees. But I think that to build the story takes time, and I don't mind spending time on it because all buildings need that. You need to have AC. The aircon has to work without anyone knowing how. The plumbing has to work. So I feel that the things that you don't see are more important.
Yeah. But after so 6 books in, Ivy. So when did you what was it like for you, that moment when you finally, even though you published 6 books, you've written 6 books, what was the moment like for you when you finally saw your book out there? Because you said it's a lot of work that you went through.
Yeah, I think that there's nothing like that feeling, the buzz. I think that seeing my byline is still a buzz. And I remember seeing it as a child, writing my school newsletters and writing to the
Mm,
papers or whatever, or trying to win a competition and writing into like magazines. And
yeah,
seeing your byline makes it like feel real. So
yeah.
holding the book that I wrote in my own hand was a validation in itself.
Mm.
You know,
Does it feel Did you ever get to a point though, during the writing of your 6th book, when we said before, like each book is a milestone?
Yeah.
Can you pinpoint when you felt like you were able to probably be yourself with your writing?
Um, yeah, I think that I would say probably with I when I wrote my fifth book, The American Boyfriend, which was published by Penguin,
Mm,
that's when I realized that they value this, they understand, they get it, they understand that this is the voice.
yeah,
So, but I'm obviously constantly improving on that voice. I
yeah.
want to make it even more special and, um, a better version of my previous self.
Mm. 'Cause one of the a question I used to ask before, especially when I was talking to like black authors and Asian authors, is that before you're trying to make you want to make yourself accessible. Because at the end of the day, you want your book to sell, you want people to read your books. But did you ever feel that you were trying that there was attempts to like pigeonhole you into a certain type of like Asian author? And like how do you
Yes.
fight
So
against
when I
that?
look around me, I think the demand is for historical World War II fiction when it comes to Asian writers. It's
Mm,
always the same story, the Japanese occupation. I feel that that's what appeals. And the reason why
yeah,
it appeals is because it's to a wide audience. And I'm trying to avoid being pigeonholed. I think I made a rod for my own back, because if I had written what the audience wants, it would be historical World War II fiction. My
mm,
grandmother's stories and stuff. But I don't want to, because I want to write about the modern Asian woman. I want to write about
yes,
the modern immigrant, somebody who is not in a field. I want somebody who is a struggling working person in a city, a professional. I want to write about this kind of characters,
yeah.
not the ones who are uneducated, female, and in the field. So, so I made my life hard, but I think that I'm still exploring that myself, because who is a modern woman? Okay, that's the important question. Who is a modern Asian woman?
But also the thing as well though, Ivy, I think is that sometimes I think that people can forget that the stories you're telling, irrespective of where you're from,
Yeah.
is that the stories you're telling, they are universal stories.
Yeah, that's true, because it's about like the characters' inner and outer struggles, which I
Mm,
think that which audience will engage with, because we all have that. We struggle with work, we
yeah,
struggle with family. These are issues that affect all of us.
exactly. All right, so Genevieve, because not Genevieve, I've called you Genevieve, I called you your character's name. So Ivy, because we're having a time of it with our technical
Yeah,
difficulties
time of
today.
our life. Yeah.
Yeah, we're having the time of our life. So I'm going to ask you about your new book, In
Okay.
Safe Hands. Okay. So would you like to tell the listeners of the conversation about your new book, In Safe Hands?
My new book, In Safe Hands, which came out in October, is about a newly penniless but once successful woman called Genevieve, who has been living it up abroad and now has to come home to seek financial and emotional support from her wealthy father. But her role has been replaced by his new caregiver, who is very attractive and very efficient.
So right, I've got two because they've described your book right as this is in the press release I got. They describe it as a gripping Asian psychological thriller, right? So I'm gonna ask you. I've got two questions. Did you face any challenges when writing In Safe Hands?
Only the same challenges as any other writer who is also a mom and a working mom and
Mm,
a busy person. So only in those, like, technical sort of challenges.
okay. And
Mm.
if you could spend an afternoon with any of your characters, whom would you choose and why?
Oh, I would choose Sahil. He's a character who is a secondary character in Safe Hands, and he's in East London, and he's Indian, and he's very handsome. He looks like Timothy Chalamet. He's very smart because he's a systems engineer, and he's
uh, graduate. He's a graduate visa holder who is working in London on the sideline as a builder.
All right. So I'm going to come up to your final set of questions, Ivy. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. So the first one is: are you an introvert or extrovert, or a hybrid of the two?
I'm a total introvert. Obviously, I'm an introvert because I like writing and staying at home. But I'm an extrovert for social media and for my performance. Like I have to be
Yeah.
to to be out there with my books to promote the books.
When you think about this writing journey and your publishing journey and where you are now, what piece of advice do you wish you'd been told earlier in your career?
Um, I wish I was told that writing is rewriting.
Mm,
Because as an architect, I'm very precious about my first draft, and it's like, don't panic. They're not going to build from that. Like it's like you draw it, therefore they have to build it. No, they don't have to build that. It has to
yeah.
be revised, maybe 400 times. So what you see when built is not what was drawn up in the first place.
Mm,
And it's the same with writing. It doesn't have to be that. I get very scared of putting one word down in case it's wrong, but there's no such thing. There's no right or wrong, as I've said already. It's got
I
to be
think
written first. Nobody's first draft is great. They're all shit. So it's better to get it down and then work on it for a few more drafts. Like maybe for me now, probably four or five.
I agree with you 100% because I always say my first draft is messy
Yeah,
and I take pleasure in the mess. I don't mind the mess and I don't mind creating the mess because out of the mess I will build what is going to be the final book.
yeah.
Like I'm not committed to that first draft and that should give you freedom.
It's scary.
Oh yeah,
We
it's
are
still
scared to do
scary.
that. Yeah. It's like, what do we
Yeah.
do? We just wasted time doing a first draft. Oh my God, I threw away how many years of my life first draft. That's why it's got to be something that you have to overcome,
Yeah.
recover from it.
No, it's just saying it is still very scary because I said I take pleasure in it. Yeah, I take pleasure in it and I enjoy it and it gives me freedom, but it still doesn't mean you don't agonize over every single word that you write.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally. Yeah, true.
Mm. All
So
right. So
that's my advice.
I think it's good advice and I like the way of looking at it in terms of like the house you plan, the original plans is not the final house you will see or building
Yeah,
that
that's
you'll
just the
see.
idea, the
It's
rough.
just the
That's why
idea,
it's
yeah.
called yeah, just the rough.
Yeah, I saw and always say to writers when I ask for my advice, I'm like, never submit your first draft.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think all rookies have done that. The
Oh
beginners
yeah,
have all done that. Yeah.
that's why I can say it. Okay, so Ivy, what challenge or experience, good or bad, in your life shaped you the most?
For me, the most life changing and challenging event is motherhood.
Mm,
Being a mom has put everything else in focus, and it's all consuming. It is like an obsession, a life's work, a profession, a career, an entire preoccupation.
mm,
Because I want to do that for my kids.
yeah,
So I feel that it has challenged everything else. Like my work has suffered, my profession, my writing, travel, whatever you want. Like even things that you eat, everything has to change
yeah,
because of being a mom.
I understand that. Okay, so Ivy, Ivy, if you could go back to when you were 25 years old and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
I would tell myself to keep writing because I every time I was rejected, it burned me for a year and it scarred me and stopped me from writing.
Yeah,
I think that because I was doing all those things in the old days before there was like support groups, before there was social media, before there's anybody telling you that, hey, forget it, I just thought that this is my own personal shame. I have to hang my head in shame, and it keeps stopping me from writing anymore. I would have a greater body of work had I overcome this terrible affliction called rejection. So, you know, I And I think that people might cope better now because there's so much, well, there's even more rejections for one. And there's social media because everybody's suffering it. You're not alone. But I think in the I would call it the pre-internet days, you're alone. You really suffer alone. That letter just came to you, and so it burns me. I wish it didn't, but I think that that's what if I was 25, I would like to know that you can just get over it. Like, it probably hurts a bit, but don't take it so seriously.
Yeah, it's so weird when you're 25, when something happens to you,
It
whether
hits much, yeah.
it does. It hits hard, and because I think because I think also as well, you're very much, even though, I'm talking pre-social media when I was 25, but you are very much aware of what's going on with your friends and your family who are the same age with you. So you always I mean, that's the barometer upon which you compare yourself. So
Yeah,
when
so
you
the
get
personal shame is
rejected,
worse. Yeah, the
yeah,
total devastation is much worse when you're young.
yeah, definitely. I wouldn't be 25 again if you paid me.
Yeah, it was really
Right.
pointless, wasn't it? Yeah, we shouldn't have been 25.
It was really pointless. So, Ivy, what is your non-writing tip for writers?
Um, I think writing really requires a lot of stamina, and I think it requires resilience, as we were talking about. I think this whole
Yeah.
podcast we were talking a lot about, recovery, resilience, maturity. So I would think that for a non-writing tip, I would say to a writer that they have to keep themselves physically and mentally fit. I think it requires a lot there, and okay, I think you and I probably went through a hard time already in our profession because architecture and law both require that, like, this grueling, head pounding
Yeah.
resilience, right?
Mhm.
It's not easy. They are not easy jobs. You can't do it for fun. Like, you don't do law for fun. You see, it's because of that. I think we are already kind of cut out for that kind of grueling lifestyle. But I think
Yeah.
if you're not prepared for that, it's very hard. Being a writer is hard, and there's no money in it. So I would say that to the aspiring writers that they have to be physically and mentally tough.
I agree with you 100% because I never, ever, ever, ever went to court for fun. It's like, and I can remember the times when I was so beyond exhausted.
Yeah.
I couldn't even, yeah, it was
Yes,
a different level of
totally.
exhaustion.
Yeah, we remember that. We remember doing the all-nighters. We remember
Yeah.
the 5 a.m. starts. I think this is kind of thing that stays with you.
Yeah,
I
it's
would say
hard.
builds character, but our character is already like that. So I don't think it built our character.
I think that's true, actually. I don't think it built it. I think it just maybe reinforced it or just showed
Yeah,
us
yeah, yeah.
who
I
we
think
really
so.
were.
Yeah, only a certain kind of person can do it. You
Yeah.
know.
I wouldn't do it again, no. I've done it
Yeah,
now.
we would have quit long ago, but our characters made us,
Yeah,
do what we do.
it's true. It made us push through. It really did. So, Ivy, finally, where can listeners of the conversation find you online?
I'm on Instagram at author Ivy Ngeow. I'm also on Threads at the same handle, and I'm also on X at Ivy Ngeow.
Okay. Well, Ivy, now that just leaves me to say thank you so much for being part of the conversation.
Thanks so much, Nadine. I really enjoyed our chat. I'm so glad I got to meet you at last online.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for watching the Conversation podcast. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you never miss a conversation. And if you'd like to catch up on more conversations, you'll find them linked on your screen now. And you can also listen to the podcast on your favourite platform. See you there. Bye.